Could I request that you all make your way to your seats, which looks like it probably has happened. So please, if you've got a seat, please sit. Before we commence, could I ask you that you please check the mobile and either put it onto silent or turn it off, please. On behalf of Kaz and the family, I'd sincerely like to welcome you all here today to the President's Room at the GMHBA Stadium, and also like to welcome and acknowledge those who are joining us via live streaming. Damien has advised us that there'll be big attendance today, and seeing the large numbers here, he certainly would not be disappointed. We are here today to celebrate the life of Damien and to share the many memories. A truly remarkable and inspirational man and a leader who wore many hats. My name is Stephen Aberhart and I'm honoured to assist in the celebration of Damien's life. I'm related to Damien by marriage and also was a work colleague within the Victoria Police. Damien today has made my job very, very easy. For those of you who experienced Damien's highly developed organisational skills, it comes as no surprise that he left a running sheet for today. The running sheet came in the form of a handwritten old school Spyrex in his own handwriting. Basically the old notes taken at the time. The running sheet was detailed and was complete with speaker details, music and visual selections that he wanted, and specific timings. Damien anticipated that this duration of today's celebration of his life would take exactly 110 minutes. And I'll try to bring it in on time, mate, if I can. Interesting, not all the speakers have been given the same amount of time to speak. Damien himself decided how much time each speaker's time was allocated. We're going to hear from numerous speakers today who will speak about many aspects of Damien's life, including his childhood, growing up and friendship, of course his footy and coaching career, being Damien's sibling in the large Christensen family, as well as Damien as an uncle. Also speak about Damien as a dad and also a pa, his policing career, and there'll be reflections from his beautiful wife, Kaz. And finally, at the end, it'll be finishing with Damien himself. Instead of having a single video montage, there will be 4 separate video presentations outlining Damien's early life, sporting and police career, and most importantly, family. Many thanks to Alexandra for her amazing work in putting this all together. Thank you, Alex. So let's get underway with the first visual reflection.
Die. where Tonga is. I've tried to look it up. No, I've looked it up and I made sure I knew where it was before I come here, and had more time to find the church actually.
The first speaker today will be Daryl Radcliffe, who will talk about the younger days growing up with Damien and their friendship.
Thanks, Steve.
Daryl, according to Damien's strict instructions, you've been given 7 minutes and the time starts now.
Thank you, Steve. I'll be the first one to break those rules. It is a privilege to be sharing some memories and thoughts of a wonderful human and a great friend today. And it may seem like a strange time to talk about good luck. We all have it, and we should acknowledge it when it turns up. I've had my share, and I certainly had it the day I walked into a little school amongst the lovely Banks Hills here in Geelong. Chanel College is no more, but it was a wonderful school, and it was filled with wonderful memories. Many of the students came from sizable Catholic families, great families, sporty types, Selses, Walshes, Gurries, Coles, and of course the Christensens. It was quite a roll call, and there were many more names. So as a byproduct of these large families, the days at Chanel were extremely active and competitive. It was an all-boys school, so the grounds more often resembled a rolling melee with no umpire in sight. You would think that it would be hard to stand out in an environment such as this with all that noise and activity, but Damien Christensen did just that. He stood out and he thrived in it. He just had this glow, this aura of positivity and of energy about him, and his classmates were drawn to that positivity. Damien was the popular kid. He was the ripper bloke to be around. Sport came naturally. It was difficult to win the ball from him, and he was nigh impossible to outrun. The Monty Python classic, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, was not written by Damo, but it should have been. It was his lifelong mantra. When I first attended Chanel College, I was lucky enough to become a mate, which in fairness wasn't that hard, because Damien was literally everyone's mate. His friendship meant so much to me, and his sense of calmness was often a great tonic. I imagine that most of you know Damien as Damo, or Chriso, or maybe Christo. At Chanel, he had a nickname. He was the Mess. I'm not sure who hung it on him, I have seen him here, but I know why. Damien would front up to school, mop of hair, shirt partially out, blazer collar adrift, tie half-mast, shoe polished, hastily applied. You get the picture. A mess. This dishevelled package was all wrapped up in a huge smile and a carefree attitude. The nickname never really stuck beyond the school grounds, but it was accurate and it was prophetic. Because in reality, and throughout his outstanding life, Damien was far more about results than the presentation. He was an action man. In the years that followed his schooling, he remained the most relaxed character, which probably masks the fact that he was always moving, working on some such thing or just helping someone. He used his carefree attitude as a superpower to bring a lot of people along for the ride with him. He was a guide and a leader, and to some, a bit of a guru. He was not a do-as-I-say guy, he was a teacher, and above all, he cared. And that shone through because he always saw the best in people. Damien was a product of a large and loving family and accepted differing opinions and the views of others, and he was a good listener, and he brought a calmness to any conversation. He certainly had depth, he was a thinker, but the recurring theme was that he was always consistent, he was caring, he was balanced, and he always seemed relaxed. Relaxed, that is, until his runners or his footy boots went on, and he was either chasing the clock or chasing the Sharon, and he loved the chase. As a kid, I knew that's all he ever bloody did. He was renowned for his running abilities. He may well have been the initial Forrest Gump. Lots of running stories. We had a kick after school plenty of times, but one day he missed the bus. I offered him a bike. He laughed, and he ran home to Lara. He told me many years later, the same week he received a letter from the Cats, he received another letter from Victorian Athletics to compete against the US college program. He loved both sports, but footy called louder. I was lucky again to play in various teams with Damo, as tackers in the North Shore Little League, in Darwin, at Werribee, and at St Joey's here in Geelong. I was a witness to this running machine. He was always the star of the show. He just bloody ran opponents ragged. In Darwin, he missed a week weeks off the training track and in bed with meningitis. No problem, he won the league medal. Werribee, we barely saw him. He was a new police cadet. He was required at Mount Waverley, no problem. Just had the club best and fairest there. As long as he could run, he was good to go and go and go and go. If I could just return to Darwin for a minute, I mentioned that Damo came from a large and loving family, and it was extremely rare to see him flustered. I was living with Damo and his brother Brendan, and Saturdays would often see us at the Fanny Bay racetrack prior to our game, and we would try to jag a winner somewhere, anywhere, and we were clueless. It was the mid-80s, and email is yet to exist. Handwritten letters are still the norm, and one turns up for Damien. It's from his mum, Mrs C, who is the patron saint of small wages. I wasn't privy to all the content, but well, you know how mums think. It would have been all's well in Lara, Dad's won the monthly medal at Elco, hope you're eating well, look after Brendan, that kind of stuff. Why I'm telling you this is because what I do know is that at the bottom of that letter was a PS, a motherly tip. Mrs C had made a suggestion. You should back a horse. Its name is Lakeworth. It's running this Saturday in the Churnside Stakes. Well, it was a good tip. Mrs C's keen eye had not missed. Lakeworth did win the Churnside Stakes at 50 to 1. And we indeed spent the Saturday at the Fanny Bay races, and we were now somewhat poorer for that excursion. You see, the problem here was Damo read his mother's letter on the following Monday. I've suggested that Damo was a carefree, relaxed and respectful to your mother type of guy, and quite hard to fluster, so I cannot begin to tell you his response. No letter was written back. Damo went straight to the telephone. It was a landline, complete with ruddy complexion, and I must admit, for the first time ever, he was also gasping for air. To politely explain to his mother just how far away Darwin was, and which he kindly said her correspondence is just that little bit sooner. Still funny days later to hear him yell out to no one in particular, mind you, 50 to 1, are you kidding me? Damien Christensen was a giver and not a taker in life. He cared and he wanted to contribute, and this was clearly evident in his policing career. Again, his upbringing in a large family readied him perfectly. He had a balanced mind and a sense of justice and fairness. He knew right from wrong. It was a lifelong policing career, and he was good at it. He also had a lifelong love of football, and he loved sharing his knowledge with the next lot of up-and-comers. He dearly loved coaching and player development. He was a people's person. He is remembered for his contribution at so many football clubs and by such a vast number of people. He was heavily invested in them all, and he gave 100% to them all. But there's just this little piece of Lara that he always carried with him. He was very proud of Lara. I know he was highly respected, highly regarded, better still, dearly loved. As much for his football knowledge as for his sense of care and his responsibility to get the best out of his playing group. I helped him once for a year at St Joey's. As instructed, he rang me one afternoon to discuss, I rang him one afternoon to discuss how we might deal with an upcoming opponent. He was on policing duties, but he answered my call. From the get-go, I couldn't understand a word from him. I said, "Chriso, mate, can you speak up? You're mumbling." I said, "I've no idea what you're saying." And he says, "It's a bit tricky, mate. I'm laying down in some long grass, behind a bush, in a vacant block. I'm onto a guy we've been chasing. It'll be good to put him away. And I've got this bloody stray dog about to take a leak on me." I said, "Really? I'll call you back." He says, no, it's all good. Let's talk footy." Now, I'm thinking we run Diesel in the guts, Goober on the wing and Hungers down back. What do you reckon? I mean, what am I supposed to say? Can you picture this guy? Binoculars, phone, juggling his two passions, policing, trying to nab a bad guy and win a footy match all at once. He's submerged in the bushes and the grass amongst the wildlife. I'm not sure who I'm talking to. Am I talking to Inspector Clouseau, David Attenborough or Rambo? I don't know who I'm talking to. Damo just wasn't the type of guy to let anyone down or to dismiss you, ever. To Damo, your story was always important and you mattered. It's impossible to describe a man like Damien Christensen in just a few pages, let alone a word or two. But if I was to go down that path, loyalty and sincerity jump out to me. I've never known Damo to be anything other than that, a loyal and sincere friend. Better still, the one word I believe that sums Damien up best is genuine. With Damien Christensen, what you saw is what you got all day, every day. Genuine friendship, genuine interest, genuine care from a genuine man. Damo will forever remind me, always appreciate your luck. Look for the good in people. Don't stress, live in the now. And to mail your letters immediately. I had no chance of ever keeping up, but it has been a privilege and I can't count myself so very, very lucky. Damien's life under any description, as an athlete, as a coach, as a mentor, as a police officer, as a brother and a son, as a husband and as a father, has all been selfless and absolutely outstanding, and there was no luck in that. You are missed but never forgotten, Damo. It was a life well lived indeed. Thank you.
The next speaker who will also talk about Damien's early days is Mick Edmonds. And Mick, Damien's instructions, you've also been given 7 minutes.
Thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone. I'm fairly confident I'll cover off the 7 minutes. What did Damo mean to me? I first met Damo approximately 40 years ago. We both arrived from Victoria to play in Adelaide and shared a house. I can still remember Damo, the man with the biggest, broadest smile that immediately made me feel at ease. He greeted me not just with a nod or a simple g'day, but with a question of real intent that required a deeper response. One that before you realise you're in a conversation about feelings and genuine care about how you were going. This was the genius of the man, a true relationship builder, a man before his time. When he asked me that he wanted me to talk today, he made it really clear. He didn't want me to talk about what he did, but he wanted me to talk about who he was. We all know of his achievements. While I feel a heavy weight of grief, I also feel honoured to have the opportunity to reflect on a great friendship that crossed over 4 decades, a lifetime of unbreakable bond that was built on similar foundations. We were both from big families, loved footy, and both moved into coaching, which meant sharing ideas over long conversations and late nights, sharing the joys and the struggles in respective careers, raising our families. What an incredible memories and endearing legacy he leaves behind. His personality and characteristics were not limited to, but more defined by his influential spirit, insatiable curiosity, unwavering dedication, and finally, his profound humility. It's often said that the measure of a person's life can be determined by the impact they have on others. While Damo was not only a beacon of influence in the community, but also in my life. Through his words, actions, and unwavering support, he inspired me, along with so many, to reach higher, to embrace what I was passionate about, and to become a better individual. Damo had an innate ability to bring out the best of me. Even up to the end, when he had a right to be mad about his diagnosis, he was still influencing me. I said, "Mate, I've never seen you lose your cool." And his statement back to me was, "I can't control what makes me mad, but I can control being mad." What a true leader. Damo had a relentless curiosity. His thirst for knowledge was contagious. He approached life with an open mind and an eagerness to discover. Whether it was exploring new ideas, predominantly this was about building relationships. Whether that was in the workplace, where he was known to put an arm around a junior constable rather than berate them, he was always developing his own ideas. No better example was his understanding of the pyramid of friendship. He was a believer that to develop friendship into the feeling sections, which is the top of the pyramid, you're a lucky person. And in his own words recently, he said, "Most people have less than 5 people in their circle who are at the top of the pyramid. I judge my wealth by how many I have, and I'm a very rich man." That he was. This passion for learning not only enriched his own life, but also encouraged me to seek answers, to ask questions, and to embark on my own journey of exploration. Damo was a reminder that life is full of wonder and that we should never stop asking why. Dedication was the core of Damo's character. I realised this quickly. As Radders just said, if we go out in Adelaide after a Saturday night or a Sunday recovery, instead of taxiing home, he'd run the 7 to 10 Ks. This was not just a reflection of his sporting dedication, but carried over in his professional pursuits with the police force, his dedication to Kaz and the girls. He was always there for his family and friends. Even just recently, he was reaching out to a mutual friend going through a very difficult time, with supportive messages and offering guidance. He believed in seeing things through to the end, after going above and beyond to ensure that his efforts contributed positively to those around him. Damo's dedication was evident in everything he did, proving that true passion and hard work can change people around him, one small act at a time. Despite all of Chriso's accomplishments and the profound impact he had on me, he remained remarkably humble. He never sought the spotlight or accolades, instead he quietly supported others. lifting them up without expecting anything in return. There was this humility that made him approachable and relatable. A sincere, genuine friend, a confidant, a mentor. He taught me that true greatness lies not in recognition, but the simple act of just being there for others. He wasn't driven by material belongings, wealth, bragging rights. One of his final conversations we had when I visited him recently in hospital, he said, "We haven't spoken about cars or what house we live in. All we've done is speak about experiences we had and the memories we shared. That's what's important." Finally, I can hear Damo right now in his encouraging, mentoring voice, quietly whispering with a parting message that I'm sure he'd love me to share with everyone here today. That is, may you lead with influence, stay curious in your pursuits, remain dedicated to your passions, and always, always approach life with humility. Love you, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick. The next speaker, James Bartell, will provide us with some personal memories about Damien's football and coaching career. What's interesting, James, is that Damien's instructions about you, speaking about his football and coaching career, no time limit. You can spend as much time talking about him as you want to.
Thanks, Stephen. And well done, Darryl and Mick. Pretty tough acts to follow and got us all pretty emotional pretty early. So I'll try my best to get it together here. Firstly, condolences, Kaz and the girls and all the Christensen family, which I know there's probably 1,000 of you. That's why we've got Cardinia Park just to house all the Christensens here. Here we go. Our coach. Just before Christmas, I went into Geelong Hospital to check in on Damo. After the initial shock of seeing one of the fittest people I've ever come across not taking too well to being told to just sit still by the nurse so they could do their regular checks, we settled into our usual pace of conversation. The topic, as always, football. How the game should be played, what team we thought was going any good, and what one was well and truly off the pace. Players, coaches, rules, back and forth we'd go. Finally, we drew breath, and then it came. Jim, I don't have long, so when it comes to the day, I have something I'd like you to do for me. Sure, anything, I replied. Forever the coach, he reaches to the book that we've mentioned, he gets the pen out and says, "Great, can you please speak on behalf of all the players I've coached? Don't make it War and Peace, will you? That's boring. Message some guys, get their thoughts, and can you get on with it?" Well, it isn't as simple as that. How do you keep it short when he's coached for close to 40 years, impacted hundreds of lives beyond the football field? How do I do Damien justice and all the men he has coached, from Lara all the way to his final coaching stint at Caulfield Grammar? I got to work and started getting on the phone. Messages came back at a rate of knots. From AFL champions to players who played for the love of the game, which was instilled in them by Damien's unwavering commitment to not only get the best out of you, but for you to see the best in yourself. And here are just some of the many messages, because there were so many, and the reflections which they shared with me about our coach. I owe my football career to Chriso. He gave me an opportunity and coached me hard sometimes. It felt too hard, but I understood how important his messages were. I learnt so much from him and will be forever grateful for the belief and support he gave me. Another one. You saw what I could do, and not only you saw what I could do and not what I couldn't do. You believed in me more than I did, and you're the reason why I coach now. We always felt like we were a chance. If we were too small, He'd say, well, we'll be quicker. If we're too slow, well, we'll beat them in the contest then. He would tell us we were the best side in the wet, and when it rained, we were supposedly the most skilled side in the dry. Although on some wintry days I questioned the extremely short footy shorts or the very high-cut running shorts, socks pulled up to make his short legs look longer, or the tight footy jumper to make his chest look like he had a barrel, he made footy the highlight of my week. And I think this final one rings true for most of us. I don't think it would have mattered what our team was called or the jumper that we wore. He got us to play for each other, but really we just played for him. Damien's football talent was elite, an incredible runner as we all know. He was skilled, he was tough, driven, and a football IQ that was off the charts. But it was his ability to teach the game and bring any group together and play as a unit that was profound. When I personally took up a role 18 months ago at Caulfield Grammar as their head of footy, the first person I called was Damo. Why? Well, why not go to one of the most important people, not just in my football journey, but my life? Patience was a key to his coaching, especially the hundreds of teenagers he coached along the journey. Mind you, I thought I had tested the relationship when he was coaching a Year 10 Caulfield side. The training session was supposed to be simple enough. The very first drill had half the squad in blue and the other half in white shirts. Simple drill, he said to them all. Blue shirts, stand on a blue hat, kick to a blue hat, finish on a blue hat. White, the same. White hat, kick to it, finish on a white hat. Little did he know that the team had returned that morning from 4 days on an outdoor education camp. 13 of the 24 had some form of medication for ADHD that had now started to wear off, and the rest probably had about 4 hours sleep total. First kicker sent it white shirt to a blue shirt, footies flying everywhere, and it was an absolute circus. The whistle blew, and in they came. And with a quick, "Don't you dare" laugh directed towards me, he told the group, "We will nail this drill, and we will get this right." That session was the first time I've ever seen in footy training go for an hour with only one drill. I think he enjoyed the quiet time back to Geelong from Caulfield that day. His passion for footy was contagious, but it was his genuine care for you as a person is what we all miss the most. A father figure to myself and many of us in this room. You made footy and footy clubs a sanctuary away from the problems we had in life. You saw the best in us. You taught us to work hard. You shaped all of us, teaching us discipline, respect, perseverance is the true measure of success. You mentored, imparted wisdom and were the sounding board for so many in the football world. You made us all better footballers, but better men. And no doubt right now you'll be running some sort of circle work up there with Mickey Turner as your regional manager. He told me in those final weeks his favourite question he loved to ask his girls: did you win? It had nothing to do with the score, but did you win the day, the moment? Did you do something that made you or someone else happy? Well, all of us in this room and anyone who has come into contact with you, we've all won. So thank you. We love you. Damien, Damo, Chriso, our coach.
The next speaker, Mick Elliott, will provide us with reflections about Damien's policing career, both on a professional basis, but more importantly, on a personal note. So, Mick Elliott.
Thanks, everyone. Terrific words we've heard already, and every one of them fell into Damien's life as a police officer. It's actually a privilege to talk today in relation to Damien's 3.5-decade career, and it's great to see so many friends and family and members of the police force. On behalf of the families, I'd like to thank Acting Deputy Commissioner Granger, Assistant Commissioners Millen, Gilbert and Walsh, other members of Force Command, as well as his many true mates, colleagues and friends from across the organisation, past and retired. I first met Damien on the 13th of March 1989 at the Police Academy as a member of Squad 8 of 89. From the outset, Damien had outstanding attributes: leadership, loyalty, courage, humility and genuine commitment to others. Listening to the boys speak already, that's not surprising. Those qualities made him a natural choice as our squad leader, a role he carried out with common sense, humour and quiet authority. Damien had delayed his start to the Victoria Police journey as an 18-and-a-half-year-old to pursue his AFL ambitions. And secondly, in response to a conversation he had with a local police sergeant who told him to go out and get some world experience, which he did, travelling throughout Australia, working, playing football, and just gaining general experience that gave him maturity and perspective beyond his years. The journey ensured Damien brought balance to our squad, grounding youthful enthusiasm with calm judgment and providing an unwavering focus on teamwork and success. His competitive spirit was legendary. During academy running sessions, Damien's elite athletic ability quickly became apparent, including defeating a very confident physical training instructor who challenged him to a race, blissfully unaware that not only was he challenging an elite running former VFL player, but a state junior 5,000 metre runner and a 2,000 metre steeplechase champion. This was something Damien fondly recounted over the years, although he recently confided in me that he was pretty sure that he never won the Physical Skills Award because, unlike our law instructors, they were not Geelong supporters. Whilst at the academy, Damien played and later won the best and fairest from Werribee, as we've heard. And as you've heard from other speakers today, he not only successfully played and coached at extremely high levels, he ensured his learnings from elite coaches and sporting groups complemented his policing roles. Damien valued the friendships formed during his time at the academy and remained immensely proud of his squad mates and all they achieved, both professionally and personally. Damien began his policing career at Footscray, where the challenges of frontline policing reinforced his belief in teamwork, resilience and looking after one another. He later transferred to the J District Traffic Operations Group, balancing policing with his football commitments, while working in an era marked by devastating road toll, confronting fatal collisions that left a lasting impact for all involved. Over the next 13 years, Damien served with the community policing squads at Altona North and Geelong, including the transition into the Sexual Offence and Child Abuse Unit. This work required compassion, patience and extraordinary emotional strength. Damien supported vulnerable victims and families during some of the most difficult moments imaginable, always with empathy, calmness and humanity. Creating a pathway to a better life was a priority for Damien and his colleagues, and is something only those that have worked in this area will understand. Damien was always there for his colleagues, provided support and assistance when it was needed, and consequently was deeply respected by his peers and superiors alike. Superintendent Barber's entry in his record of service was accurate. Damien is well respected, held in high esteem, experienced, dedicated, enthusiastic, self-disciplined, highly ethical, and always prepared to assist fellow members. On promotion to sergeant and later as a senior sergeant, Damien led with authenticity, fairness and a genuine care for his people. He understood that leadership was not simply about operational outcomes, but about ensuring staff remained healthy, supported and balanced, both at work and in their lives. Damien prided himself on his ability to work successfully within multicultural communities, as he had in the Northern Territory as a young man, prior to joining the police force, and it was on arrival at Flemington as a senior sergeant that he demonstrated just how accomplished he was at influencing positive outcomes with members of the Australian African community. In the wake of significant historical conflict, allegations of racial profiling and civil litigation against Victoria Police. Damien quickly gained the confidence of senior members within the community, which allowed him to work collaboratively and achieve ongoing positive progress in what was an extremely delicate environment. Assistant Commissioner Milne captured Damien's achievements perfectly when she said this about him. One of his greatest strengths was his ability to bridge divides. He took the time to listen, understand and genuinely care. Community members respected him because he respected them. Moving on, and Damien spent his last 10 years with Victoria Police as a commissioned officer, which he thoroughly enjoyed, particularly when working with managers who he considered like-minded, capable and focused on people, health and wellbeing. Damien was an authentic inspector and acting superintendent within North West Metro and Western Region, with his strengths being his efficiency in prioritising policing activities that he considered important. If you were ever fortunate to sit through his moving parts presentation or his explanation of the clock of Victoria Police, you were better for the experience. Damien was a driver of success. During the COVID pandemic, he played significant roles in the police response to several serious incidents and natural disasters across Western Victoria, the entire time empowering those around him to operate with efficiency and productivity. During a visit with Damien in January, he asked me to seek a response from several people he nominated in relation to two simple questions. What impact did he have on people? And how did you see him as a police officer and a person? I sincerely thank Assistant Commissioners Millen, Superintendents O'Connor, Gillard and Barrett and Inspectors Young and Norton for providing me with responses, which in aggregation I'll share with you now. When reflecting on Damien's time as a commissioned officer, one theme emerges consistently from those fortunate enough to know and work closely with him, and that was the extraordinary impact he had on people. Damien was a genuine people person. He had a rare ability to make others feel valued, respected and supported, regardless of rank, background or circumstances. Whether speaking with a recruit on the first day, a colleague facing challenges, or a member of the community seeking understanding, Damien made people feel heard. He listened without judgment, guided without ego, and led with authenticity, humility and compassion. Damien had a calm and reassuring presence and the ability to walk into a room and immediately bring a sense of stability, positivity and perspective. People followed him because they trusted him, they respected him, and they knew he genuinely cared. Damien was a mentor to many. He recognised potential in people long before they saw it in themselves and quietly encouraged them to grow, improve and succeed. He invested time in others, not because he had to, but because helping people mattered deeply to him. Damien's guidance and belief in people allowed them to develop their careers with confidence, while striving for positivity in all aspects of life. Damien embodied fairness, integrity and common sense. He approached challenges calmly, thoughtfully and with a solutions-focused mindset, and understanding that policing was ultimately about people, relationships, trust and humanity. While Damien achieved so much professionally, those closest to him never defined him simply by his role with Victoria Police. He was equally passionate about family, friendship, sport, mentoring and community, and valued a balanced life. The words most often used to describe Damien are remarkably consistent. A great bloke, one of life's gentlemen, a mentor, a genuinely good man, and a leader who made people feel better about themselves. Damien's legacy is not measured in titles, rank or accolades, but the countless lives he influenced through kindness, encouragement, humility, humour and unwavering support for others. He led quietly, consistently and selflessly. He brought out the best in people and made people feel they mattered. For all of us fortunate to know him, work with him or call him a friend, that impact will remain long after today. Recently, while visiting Damien, I asked him how he hoped to be remembered, and his response was simple. I think I was a pretty good leader and a pretty good cop. Well, Damien, you were more than that. You were an inspirational leader, a trusted mentor, an outstanding police officer, and most importantly, an even better man. To Karen, Rebecca, Jessica, Alexandra and Georgia, policing the areas that Damien did for so many years places great strain on families, as the trauma and heartache experienced by police officers at times extends beyond the work environment and challenges the private lives of so many. I would like to thank you and the extended Christensen family for your love, the support you gave Damien over his career, which allowed him to effectively lead, manage and positively influence so many members of Victoria Police and the broader community over 35 years. Without you, his journey would have been significantly more challenging and a lot less enjoyable. For those serving in future generations of police officers, I leave you with some of Damien's words of wisdom. Life is a constant moving process. You never win or lose, you're never in front or behind. These concepts are just a state of mind. Improve the down times and extend the good times. Stay away from gossip. Talk through your problems. Look after each other, and most of all, enjoy the ride. Thanks, mate. Rest in peace.
Metres is now about to get underway, so here once again is Bill Collins.
Now the field in the 1500 metres, Damien Christensen of Geelong, Gary Pert of Fitzroy, Brian Cordy Footscray, Michael Pickering from Richmond, Jamie Dersma from Hawthorn, and also in the field as they get away, Greg Smith and Tony Morwood from the Swans, Stephen Gumley from Carlton, Adrian Batiston from Melbourne, and we've got a young Essendon boy there. I don't know who he is. He's a late starter in the field. And there's the field settling down now, and it's the Melbourne boy out in front at this stage, and that's Batiston leading the field round the turn into the straight the first time. From Hawthorn there, Dersma is running second, and the Geelong runner Damien Christensen in third placing as they come down the straight the first time. From Carlton then we've got Stephen Gumley running fourth, and behind them then is the Richmond runner Michael Pickering, and the Essendon lad is next, and then Greg Smith. From the Swans, from Footscray with 3 to go is Brian Cordy. Tony Morwood's back second last at this stage. Now it's the Fitzroy boy in front, actually, Gary Pert. Now Gary Pert, and there's 3 of them breaking away. Gary Pert, Damien Christensen and Jamie Dersma. That's Fitzroy, Geelong and Hawthorn, and they've opened up a break of a good 30 metres as they head down the back from Stephen Gumley of Carlton, and then the Richmond runner Michael Pickering behind him, and they've got a further break away from the rest of the field. Coming off the back now, and Ron Clark with me at the moment. Ron, these boys have opened up a big league, and if they run sensibly here, it's going to be very hard to catch them when they've got away in a trio.
They're not going to catch them. They're running better than the ones behind them, Bill. In fact, the first 2 runners, I think, are the P's, either Gary Pert, and what's the Geelong boy's name?
The Geelong boy is Damien Christensen in front.
There goes Damien. He looks very well put together, and I would like to put a little bit of money on Damien. I think he's tracked them all.
Well, there he is. He's going along very well, Damien Christensen. 2 laps to go, and he's opened up a 20-metre lead now from Pert, and the Hawthorn runner there in third placing is Dersma. That Essendon boy, Brian Brown, incidentally. In fourth place is Carlton at this stage, and that's Stephen Gumley, but oh boy, what a lead this fellow's opened up with 700 metres to go. And Damien Christensen, you can have a good look at him there. He must be the best part of 30 or 40 metres in front. Gary Pert in second placing is just going forward, and that's all. And from Hawthorn on the outside of him is Jamie Dersma, and they've got this enormous break on the field. Looking at the head-on shot there, Ron, it's a mile between them.
Yes, you can see just notice the tempo when he's running. The difference between runners and tries, if you like, of this type, of this distance, is the tempo that they're running. And the Damien Christensen's got this tempo going. He's keeping his running. The legs are just sort of flowing and going like where the others are starting to plod.
Well, now Damien Christensen coming down the straight with a lap to go. This is a mighty run. Let's give him a big round of applause. He goes past. Let's cheer him on. He's put up a terrific performance. He's already about 80 or 90 metres in front of the field with 1 lap to go. And the way he's going, he could win by half a lap. 3 minutes and 28 hundredths of a second.
Yeah, just a few tenths of a second, Bill.
For the first portion of the journey with 1 lap to go. Now the Hawthorn runner going past the post with a lap to go now is Jamie Dersma. Gary Pert is next. Tony Morwood's moved up to be 4th. And then Stephen Gumley is 5th. Followed then by Michael Pickering. And Brian Cordy of Footscray is next. Greg Smith is next, moving around the Essendon boy, Brian Brown. And let's see. Let's find this leader. There he is. And he's got 200 metres to go. And that's Damien Christensen of Geelong. And we look for the second runner. And he's a long way back as Damien Christensen risks a peep over the shoulder. And he's well clear. Comes around the turn into the straight about 100 metres in front. Tony Morwood has run well clear of the rest of the field into second placing now. But here's Damien Christensen. He's going to win by about 80 metres. Coming down to the line, a great run, the Geelong boy. He's 4:10. If he keeps going, he'll break the 4:20 easily. 4:14, 15. Damien Christensen over the line in about 4:17. Here's Tony Morwood coming down for the Swans now to take second money. It's going to be a go for third. Stephen Gumley of Carlton finishing strongly now on the outside of Jamie Dersma. And Gumley will run third, from Dersma fourth. And then from Fitzroy, Gary Pert has run fifth. Then from Richmond, Michael Pickering, Brian Cordy from Footscray, Greg Smith and Brian Brown. And they are the last ones to complete the course in the VFL 1500 metres. And Stephen now to talk to that record-breaking performer, Damien Christensen of Geelong.
Well, Damien, last week Steve Scott from the United States struggled around here in about 4:2, so your run wasn't too bad.
No, it was all right, yeah.
He's the fastest in the world this year.
Oh, I'm far from that.
Damien, tell me, I know you're a runner, you run cross-country and steeplechasing. You're no stranger to these sort of tracks, though?
No, they're good tracks. I've been here a fair bit since...
When did you decide to take on the field and just sprint out ahead?
Oh, I saw Gary was starting to die at the top of the straight. 2 laps to go.
There are a few of them starting to die.
Yeah, I think a few ran in the 3K, though, earlier.
What's your best time for the 1500?
About 4:2 or 4:4, something like that.
You could really have done it, cut 10 seconds off. You almost walked down the straight.
Oh, I think there's another one later against the soccer and rugby bloke, so...
Save a bit of energy for that. Well done, congratulations. And at this stage, we might go over to Sandy Roberts.
Thanks a lot.
Keep a fire burning in your eye and pay attention to the open sky. You never know what will be coming down. I don't remember losing track of you. You were always dancing in and out of view. I must have thought you'd always be around. Always keeping things real by playing the clown. Now you're nowhere to be found. I don't know what happens when people die. Can't seem to grasp it as hard as I try. It's like a song I can hear playing right in my ear that I can't sing. I can't help listening, and I can't help feeling stupid standing round. Crying as they ease you down, 'cause I know that you'd rather we were dancing, dancing our sorrow away. Right on, dance. No matter what fate chooses you play, just do the steps that you've been shown by uncertainty turn you around. The world keeps turning around. Go on and make a joyful sound. Into a dancer you have grown, from a seed somebody else has thrown. Go on ahead and throw some seeds of your own, and somewhere between the time you arrive and the time you go may lie a reason you were alive that you'll never know.
The next speaker will be Damien's brother Marty, who will speak about Damien as a brother and as an uncle. Now, I know this is correct. In true sibling spirit, when Marty was advised of his only 5 to 10 minute speak by Damien, he responded, "No way, I will talk for as long as I want to."
Karen's still here, Stephen, so that won't happen. I will ask Brendan to come up and stand with me as a supportive strength. Damien, Brendan and I shared a lot together, as well as all of our siblings, but there were special moments between the three of us that we followed each other's journeys, so love you, mate. For those I haven't met or do not know, my name is Marty. I'm one of Damien's many siblings for whom I represent today, along with their partners, their children and respective families, and many of our cousins and that have travelled from so far to get here today. We're a big mob. I hope I can do them all proud. Firstly, on behalf of us, I'd like to acknowledge and pass on our sincere condolences to Damien's wife, Karen, and their daughters Rebecca, Jessica, Alexandra and Georgia, their partners and grandchildren. Well, we've lost a brother, brother-in-law, uncle and great friend. You've lost your husband, the love of your life. He loved you immensely. Your father and your pa, and a great role model for your girls and your grandkids. You've been truly blessed to have lived with Damien and know the impact he's had in your lives for more than 35 years and the deep love that he had for his girls. We acknowledge your deep sorrow, and our wider family will always keep our arms and hearts open to you. To Jess and Tom and Sully, we wish you the best with a safe arrival of a new baby coming soon. It's going to be a time of mixed emotions. We know there will be someone there looking over you. Life has to go on, and Damien wouldn't want anything else. My brother Damien and I shared a lot in common. The love of growing up in a big family and a community in which we were welcomed and made many lifelong friends. A love of sport, especially distance running, football, golf, and the occasional dabble on the horses from time to time. And clearly, if you looked in either of our bathroom cabinets, there'd be a complete lack of hair care products as well. When we were young boys, our loving mum Mary would use spittle on a hanky or use her hand to push our hair down to put it into place. For Paul, Damien and I, she obviously used a little bit too much force. Brendan's hanging on to a little bit of his because mum couldn't quite catch him. He was a little bit too quick. He was always running around. The fact we're here today celebrating Damien's life is very fitting, as there is a thread that runs through his life here before his days playing for the Cats. Damien's love of football and his football abilities were established at a very early age. He played junior football at the North Shore Little League and represented that league in the State Savings Bank-sponsored VFL Little League that played at half-time of the senior matches here on more than one occasion. He told me one day he ran the length of the field and kicked a goal, and I said, mate, that's bullshit. Right? As an 11-year-old, little did I realise they weren't playing that way, they were coming across the ground. There was 2 ovals. For those not old enough to remember the SSBs, it was the forerunner to the Big M Little League and Auskick, and Damien was in his element, running around on the same ground as the VFL team he supported, the Mighty Cats. A few years later, as young teenage boys, we'd often catch the train in from Lara to watch Geelong home games, standing on the hill. In the outer at the northern end, Damien was a Cats man, cheered on the players of that era, Nankervis brothers, Sam Newman, David Clark, Michael Turner, with whom he'd later work, Terry Bright, Scratch and Neil, Jumpin' Jack, and many other players. Me, as an avid St Kilda supporter, my prime job for the day was to barrack for whichever opposition team was playing here, just to give Damien the shits. I was very, very good at my job. Of course, after strong performances in local junior footy, Damien was lucky enough to be invited to try out for Geelong, initially with the under-18s in 1982, then with the reserves and seniors, 83 to 86. I'll talk about that period a little bit later on. As coach of the Geelong Falcons, from 2000 to 2005, he would send his boys out against other talented teams in the TAC under-18 comp here at Cardinia Park, where they played their home games. A period that brought great immense joy to Damien, and where he excelled as a coach and mentor for young men, as James Bartel has alluded to earlier today. He played some Vic Country Interleague games here and the occasional GFL Grand Final, notably St Joey's and Newtown in more recent times. He loved coaching and the many rivalries and relationships that were built over those years. It might be a little ironic that after this service we'll be continuing Damien's celebration over at St Mary's Sporting Club, the club that defeated his Lara team in the 92 GFL Grand Final. But he'd be greatly appreciative of the support they've provided and his family today. And I'll take this opportunity to thank the great people at St Mary's for their generosity and support later. A club that I've been associated with for the last 20 years almost. More recently, as a past player of Geelong, he'd come along to watch the Cats when the opportunity arose. And even last year, he and his youngest daughter, Georgia, attended several games during the 25 season, a great bonding time for the two of them in what has been a challenging time. We're very grateful that we're able to celebrate Damien's life here. Personally, thanks Steve Hocking and the staff at the football club for their support. I need some water, mate. Dame was born, we'll go back to start. Dame was born 16th of October 63 to parents Alan and Mary in Baxter House, the sixth of 8 kids, ready to take on the world with 5 older siblings in hand. Karen, Paul, Lorraine, Brendan and Mary. I wasn't around then. I'm not sure Brendan did much of the caring bit, but he knew he would have been rapt to have a young brother to show the ropes to. In October 63, John F. Kennedy was president of the USA, but not for much longer. There was no room in the world for JFK now that Damien had arrived. We'll talk about that later. Beatlemania was spreading wildly across the world. She Loves You, a breakthrough song. And You'll Never Walk Alone became a #1 hit song for Jerry and the Pacemakers in that month of October 63, which is a sweeping anthem about resilience, solidarity and hope. Of course, a rallying cry for Liverpool fans across the globe. For Damien, it was a fitting song to announce his arrival into the world. On the contrary, when I was born in September of 65, the #1 song in the UK was I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. A song title that speaks for itself. After Dame and myself came our youngest sister Carmel. We grew up at 36 Talona Crescent, Corio, in the shadows of the Shell refinery where Dad went to work. And Mum ran a small free creche in our tiny house. 8 kids, all together. There were 10 of us living in a 3-bedroom home. 4 boys in one room, measuring about 4 metres by 3 metres, 2 sets of double bunks. From my memory, the 3 oldest girls were in a slightly bigger sized bedroom, work that out. And I could be wrong, but I think Carmel slept in a cot in Mum and Dad's room right up until she was about 7 years of age. Lucky she wasn't tall. Being a member of a big family means you're never lonely, just constantly surrounded by noise and opinions. Personal space was the small stretch of water between 2 kids at opposite ends of the bath. A distance usually measuring no more than 2 or 3 feet. There was no such thing as a cost of living crisis. Our loving parents worked hard to keep us clothed, fed and safe. Now, Damien was the 6th child in the family, and I was born 2 years after him, making me the 7th. When we were young kids, I had a brilliant idea of creating a 6-7 movement. We could patent it, sell merchandise and make millions, but Damien convinced me otherwise. It'll never catch on. Always good for advice, my brother Damien. He was right though, because we weren't 6 and 7. We've discovered a new sister last year, which is a shock to many. So we're now 7 and 8. He was right. And we welcome Mary today, and it's a challenge for her because she's getting to know our family, and we're so grateful that she's come into our lives, and I know she's trying to work it out. So, life in Cryer was pretty simple. We had a small paddock across the road where the boys played cricket, kicked the footy, stubbed our toes on the uneven concrete on too many occasions. Damien loved the outdoors and was super competitive at every sport we played, a trait he never lost. When Mum needed to clean the house, she'd kick us all outside and we had to make our own fun. Riding a scooter, jumping on pogo sticks, or on wet days, racing icy pole sticks in the water-filled gutters as they'd go down as the gutter. With the winner, the one whose icy pole stick, went down the drain first. Simple fun. No mobiles, no video games. Damien made great friends with Tim and Tony Dowdle, who lived up the street, and we'd spend many a day playing sport. In the spring of '74, we moved to Lara into a 5-bedroom house, and we spent our first Christmas there while Cyclone Tracy was battering Darwin. What a luxury it was for us kids to only share a bedroom with one other sibling rather than 3. I got to share a bedroom with Damien in those early years in Lara. It was here that I first discovered that he had supersonic hearing. Damien possessed an ability to hear minute sounds, usually inaudible to the human ear. We'd be lying in bed, I'd be almost asleep, before Damien would open with, "Can you hear that?" I'd stir from my slumber and eventually reply, "No, what is it?" He would then come back with, "There's a tap dripping. Can't you hear it?" 10 or 15 seconds would pass, me straining my ears and still in a slumber. "Well, I can hear it now. Thank you." Be another stretch of silence. He'd finally get out of bed, go into the laundry, try and tighten the tap so the dripping would stop, and then return to the bedroom, hop back into bed. Just before he's about to nod off, another family member would turn on the outside light, which would shine its beam of light through the cracks in the curtain to our bedroom, and then forget to turn it off. He'd go off on another rant. As well as acute hearing, he also had super sensitive eyes as well. I don't know if it was the same with you, Karen, but it used to drive me crazy. Lara was a great place for us family to spread our collective wings. Brendan, Damien and I played footy for Lara in winter and did athletics at Landyfield in summer, while others in our family adapted quickly within the Lara township, whether that was at the tennis club, the pool, the local discos, or the youth coffee shop. Many, many lifelong friends were made, a large number who are here today. We caught the bus to Chanel College, where us boys attended school, and Damien made numerous friends, including Darryl Radcliffe, whose friendship has lasted some 50 years, Dean Harris and many others. On one particular night, our parents were out for the night at a school dinner dance up at the Chanel College School Hall. A night for Mum and Dad to let their hair down, while the older kids, Karen, Paul and Lorraine, would have to look after the rest of us younger kids. Mission impossible. Just 1 week earlier, our parents had bought a brand new brown leather sofa with 2 matching side chairs in the same style. Mum wasn't overly keen on the colour, probably even the style to be honest, but Dad loved it and kept watching it, making sure we treated it with respect. It was less than an hour after they left home for the night, for their big night out, when Damien and I were fighting over who was going to sit on one of the side chairs. Like all young boys do, we were pulling and pushing, kicking and wrestling each other, neither giving up. When all of a sudden we heard an almighty crack. Looking down, we saw the side of the chair was sitting at right angles. We were in deep shit. And it wasn't even 7 p.m. Mum and Dad wouldn't be home for 4 or 5 hours, but we knew what was coming. So immediately we put ourselves to bed and waited hours and hours for the volcano to blow. It's a long and torturous wait, during which time we continually blamed each other, waited for that dreaded time when the car would pull up and the front door would open. I'm not sure what was worse, the long waiting or the whack that would eventually come, but I can say that the volcano sure did blow. Neither of us went near that brown sofa for weeks, not that we were able to sit down on it anyway for a little while. We competed in athletics for Lara Athletic Club, a great time for us 3 boys. Summer Saturdays spent competing at Landy Field, not far from here, and jumping into the Barwon River on really hot days. Imagine doing that now. Maybe that's where we went bald. Damien, being born in mid-October, was blessed, as were a couple of his mates, Nick and Stokesy, who were also born in October. The cut-off for underage groups was October 1. For Brendan and I, born in September, it meant we had to run against athletes 8, 10, 12 months older than us. He was a lucky bugger, and he always performed well in distance events. Damien especially loved to go running at the Yuyangs for training, and we had various different tracks or runs that we would do under the eye of our athletics coach, Peter Jardine, an eccentric woodwork teacher from Geelong Grammar School. The Yuyangs always remained a special place to Damien, and earlier this year we gathered as a family up there with Dame, Karen and the girls and their families for a family barbecue. A special day where those of us who could make it gather around Damien, who sadly had missed our annual Boxing Day in December the previous year, having to spend that time in hospital. It was a very special day and one we'll never forget. At the start of 1980, Damien was packed off to Year 11 at Assumption College, a boarding school in Kilmore. I recall travelling the 2+ hours with Mum and Dad and Damien to drop him off on his first day, and then I bawled my eyes out on the way home. After all, I just lost my kick-to-kick partner. The days were certainly a lot different and much quieter. On a positive note, I did have my own bedroom and I didn't hear a tap dripping once. Damien took to life at Kilmore like a duck to water, and a whole lot of new friendships were formed, and many of those boys have come today. Fellow boarders from across the state, Victoria, New South Wales border. As a talented young footballer, Damien found a regular spot on the wing in the first 18 football team that year at Assumption. The year they won their first ever Herald Shield trophy, which was the award acknowledged for the best schoolboy team in the state during that time. Not hard to see why. The team included a lot of several players who went on to play VFL football. Simon O'Donnell, Peter Tossell, Dale Dixon, Frank Regolo, Phil Egan, and of course Damien, as well as a host of other teammates who would later make their mark at VFL, local or country footy. It was a great first year at his school and he loved it. The following year, Damien was in Year 12 and was selected in the Victorian schoolboys' trip to Tour Island to play some Gaelic footy against the local Irish lads. It was a highlight of his young life, and he spent months learning to kick a Gaelic footy around the house and the local footy ground. He got to sit next to a young journalist on the flight over by the name of Mike Sheehan. I ran into Mike earlier this year and he fondly remembered that trip and in particular remember Damien's enthusiasm and positivity. And we thank Mike and Damien Burke as well for providing some of the vision of Damien running at Olympic Park earlier this year. It was on a day trip on that tour that the group got to visit County Cork and climb to the top of Blarney Castle. The main reason for doing this was to kiss the Blarney Stone, which required a person to climb a narrow staircase to the top of the castle, lie flat on your back and lean backward over a sheer drop while holding onto some iron rails. And we saw that picture in the vision earlier. Now, for someone like Damien, who had a great fear of heights, this was going to be a great challenge, but kiss the Blarney Stone he did. According to folklore, kissing the Blarney Stone endows that person with the gift of the gab, ability to speak with eloquence and charm and skill, and perhaps with an ability to enhance a story or two. All skills which would come in handy for Damien many years later as a football coach and policeman. I'm sure most of you here today who've been coached by Dame would have thought now, yeah, that Blarney Stone's not a myth, it actually does work. Damien returned home from college and over the next summer was invited to train with the under-19s. In 1982 he played pretty much the entire season. At the end of that season he went up to Gladstone where Brendan was working with a couple of his mates, Kevin Dover and Stewie Hardiman. Damien and Brendan joined a running club to continue their love of running, which held a competitive event every weekend. For the first 3 runs, Damien would edge out Brendan, finishing in first place with Brendan coming along in second. And for his effort would win some prize, a watch or some money or something. On the 4th weekend, Brendan woke early, jumped in the car, and left Damien behind. He wasn't running second that weekend. His stay in Queensland was short-lived, and returning mid-November, invited to train with the Geelong Cats under Tom Hafey, someone who Damien loved and respected. Tom loved fitness and players who would get the best out of themselves, and Damien was one such player. He made the senior Cats list in '83, made his senior debut in round 11 against the Hawks at Princes Park, a game in which he would get 22 disposals, kick 3 goals, and Geelong would come from behind to win by 7 points. It's a debut that childhood dreams are made of. He played the next 3 games at senior level, mostly off the bench. It was in a round 14 game against Richmond at Waverley that was pretty memorable, but unfortunately not for any great footballing feats. It was a typically cold Waverley day, about 5 or 6 degrees. And Damien sat on the interchange bench for all of the first 3 quarters and the first 24 minutes of the last quarter, as Geelong, holding on to a 22-point lead at 3-quarter time, started to splutter in the last term. The Tigers were mounting a comeback. With less than 5 minutes to go, the call came down to the bench to tell Damien to warm up. I know he's told me no matter what he did, he could not get anywhere near as warm as his body was frozen solid. He came onto the ground with little time left, just as Geelong had lost the lead after another Richmond goal. His football stats that day read 0 kicks, 0 marks, 0 handballs, 0 tackles, 0 frees for, 1 free kick against, after he'd fallen into someone's back like a frozen block of ice. To this day, he might be the only VFL-AFL player in history to have negative Supercoach points. Sad to say, the Cats lost the game by a single point and Damien was dropped the next week. He loved Tom Hafey, but not so much that day. At presentation night, he was awarded the most determined player for the club that year. He really was one of the most dedicated. During our time, and with our athletic backgrounds, the two of us were renowned for our running abilities during pre-season. In fact, in one 10-lap run around Cardinia Park, around the boundary line just here, I vividly recall that Damien and I lapped Mark Jackson, not once, but twice. Berkey wasn't far behind. He wasn't too impressed, especially the second time around. Jacko was not renowned for his stamina. In fact, watching him run was like watching two turtles making love. Very slow and not a pretty sight. In between the years at the Cats, Damien spent 2 seasons playing for St Mary's in the Northern Territory in the wet season with Brendan. And I know they were special times for the two of them. In those 2 years, Damien was a member of 2 premiership teams, won the league best and fairest, won the NT News Player, won best on ground in the Australia Day game against an Essendon side for an NT rep team. Oh, and he also contracted viral meningitis and nearly died, but hey, that's Darwin, isn't it? In 1986, returning from Darwin, he managed to string some games together in the senior team. Damien and I never got to play too many senior games together, but there was one memorable game during 86 that stood out. Round 7 of 86, May 10, just over 40 years ago. We were both selected to play in the ones against Melbourne at VFL Park, Waverley. Now, Damien and I were still living in Lara at the time and had organised to get picked up by the bus on the Princess Highway, just near the Lara plant farm, as we often did. We waited, and then it dawned on us that we'd done a Gary side bottom and we'd missed the bus. Disaster. The one and only option was to hop in the car, which belonged to our sister Karen, that we parked just off the highway and head up the road on the long drive to Waverley Park. The mood in the car was very frosty all the way up. We blamed each other for who was responsible. As we entered the stadium, into the change rooms, we kept our heads down, trying not to attract attention from Coach John Devine or the other coaching staff or players. But we both agreed on one thing: we bloody better play well. AFL records will show that Damien gathered 26 possessions, the most of any Geelong player, while I managed to pick up 21 possessions of my own. What the record books don't show is that we kicked the ball to each other at least a dozen times in an effort to look after each other. The Cats won the match by 31 points, and it meant we didn't have to face any inquisition about missing the bus. And I can honestly say that the drive home was certainly far more enjoyable and amicable than the one up. Sadly, ripping a hammy off the bone in training in late 86 saw his VFL career come to an end. And that hamstring injury was something that would dog him for decades. And he'd make me massage it in later years when playing back at Lara or other clubs. No matter how hard I massaged him, I could never get that knot out. After Geelong, Damien's footy journey was just that, a journey. We don't have anywhere near enough time to go into minute detail about the years and clubs he represented beyond his time at the Cats, but I'll mention a few key moments. His next adventure took him to South Australia for 2 years in the SANFL, established another long friendship with Mick Edmonds, one that has lasted 40 years. He was briefly courted by the Saints, then finally played out the 80 season at Werribee with Mick Turner as coach, after his SA club wouldn't clear him. He'd go on to win the BNF, as you've heard earlier, in his one season, but he had to stand out the first part of the year. It was also a year Damien enlisted in the Victoria Police Academy. He realised that football, while still important, wasn't going to pay the bills, and after a chat with a local copper and family friend, Maury Ryan, realised that a police career was just right for him. Are we still allowed to say copper? I might get a parking ticket. It also marked a change in Damien's personal involvement in footy. He took on coaching at Lara after they played their first season in the GFL. Within 4 years, he took that team from the bottom rungs, competing in 2 grand finals, sadly losing both. And it was also the first time the 3 of us boys ever got to play in the same team together, a memory that I know Brendan and I will treasure forever. The fact that they won the premiership the following year in 1994, after he'd been moved on as coach, was bittersweet. But I know Damien was thrilled for the Lara Footy Club, and especially for the boys who he'd coached there during that time and who'd played in that winning team. Probably the toughest of all his coaching years was taking on the job at Williamstown, unaware they had no money and were unable to pay players their full whack for the season prior to Damien's appointment. While they didn't win a senior a single game that year. The club never folded and still to this day survive in their own right in the VFL competition. It was testament to Damien's resilience that he never threw it in. The only person who showed more resilience, perhaps, was Brendan, who Damien had coerced to coach the reserves team at Willie that difficult season. Kissing the Blarney Stone struck again, as he must have sold Brendan a story to be coached with promises of glory. But I know they both look back in time and smile when recalling those tough times and how they got through. He particularly relished the opportunity to coach young footballers at the Geelong Falcons, reunited with Mick Turner as the general manager, guiding young men at football and in life and watching them succeed wherever they went, whether that was at AFL, VFL, country level, or in work or other pursuits. In later years, Damien spent time coaching at Box Hill, worked with the Hawks, Port Adelaide, North Melbourne, in different capacities, including forward scouting. Recently, Steve Hocking shared his recollections with me about times Damien would be on duty as a policeman here at Geelong games, standing in the race. At the same time, Damien was working for the Hawks. Here he was, in his police uniform, taking notes about the Cats, how they set up, what positions they played, any obvious tactics. This was all at a time when the rivalry between the Cats and the Hawks was at its most intense, and we all remember the Kennett curse. With Damien smiling away at Hock in his police uniform, knowing that Steve could do nothing about moving him on, Damien loved the Cats, but it was the Hawks that were paying him that day. Of course, Karen and the girls were always supporting Damien in the background, allowing Damien to unselfishly live out his football journey. There must have been a lot of coach frustration that Karen had to put up with, I'm sure. In every coaching job he did, he was boots in, and he was the same in his police career. He wanted nothing more than for others to get the best out of themselves. It really made him happy to see others go on and have success of their own. A big thank you to those football clubs who've posted such wonderful tributes on their socials since Damien's passing. It reflected on a man who devoted a large part of his life trying to make other people better and giving everything he had to each club. Damien rarely spoke to any of us about his policing life, perhaps really to shield us about the work he did. I guess Karen would have been privy to more about that work than any of us. We all know that there were very tough times in the job, but he loved the work he did, the people that he worked with, and we knew how well he was respected. I did have one police-related story to tell. When I was living in Lara several years ago, I was sharing a house with a fellow policeman and a great friend of Damien's and mine, Craig Malthouse. Malty was the owner of a very large part German Shepherd, part Labrador named Holly, who was a beautiful dog and as gentle as a lamb. Damien drove from Geelong out to Lara to visit the two of us one day. Pulling into the driveway, he got out and walked up to the front door. While we sat in the lounge room watching sport, knowing Malty, it was probably the racing. The front door was open, but the wire door was closed, and Holly, who was inside, came up the corridor to welcome Damien at the front door. Now, I mentioned earlier that Damien was quite afraid of heights, but there was only one thing he was even more scared about, and that was dogs. He was known if walking down the street and someone with a dog was coming the other way, he would cross the road, walk on the other side, and then cross back again when they'd pass by. As he stopped at the door, Damien saw Holly and without opening the wire door, yelled out to us, "Can you take the dog outside?" To which I replied, "Don't worry, mate. She's very tame. She won't bite." His voice rose a little bit higher once again. "Please, can you get the effing dog outside?" Again, I replied, "Damien, it's okay, brother. She won't bite. She'll probably only lick you to death." There was a short period of silence before we heard Damien jump back in the car, start it up, and drive off again. We were gobsmacked. Now, it came a huge surprise to both Maldy and I that sometime later, Damien had applied for an inspector role with the dog squad. I'm not sure how well he would have gone, but I would have paid good money to watch him on duty. Mouldy ended up telling him that as part of the role, he'd have to be photographed with dogs. At that stage, we understand that he withdrew his application. Damien's place in our family. I'm speaking with Brendan just this week. I asked him about Damien's place and his impact. He said to me, our family was like a small business. We all had our roles and positions. Mary was definitely our social secretary. Carmel was our media person, having studied as a journo at uni. Karen was our caterer. Lorraine, our health and wellbeing expert. While Paul was our resident gardener. Brendan and I were the rank and file, firing cheap shots from the sidelines. But Damien, well, he was the president. Remember JFK? He assumed that role in part when Dad had passed away in 2015. He always relished the opportunity to get up and speak at family functions, like Mum's 90th, or on family boxing days, welcoming any new partners of our nieces and nephews, and making well-articulated speeches. We saw earlier Damien with a microphone in his hand. He was a natural. Remember the kissing the Blarney Stone? It's not a myth, it's a fact. My brother Damien meant the world to me. He continuously looked out for me, encouraged me, spurred me along, dragged me out of the house to go running up at the Yangs or kick the footy at the lower oval. He was always there for me during my own personal battles, and there's no doubt that I would not be the person I am today without the ongoing love and support he provided. I will miss our regular phone calls about footy, about the Geelong team's performances, hard luck golf stories, and getting 3 legs of the quaddie. I won't, however, miss his endless list of black bookers that he'd text to me on Saturdays. Horses that seem to miss the start, run up the arse end of another horse, or completely run nowhere. Kissing the Blarney Stone did not extend to being a horse whisperer, it seems. I'd like to close by sharing some beautiful words written by our nephew Patrick, the oldest of all our nephews and nieces, shortly after Damien had passed away 5 weeks ago. In these words, he has perfectly expressed a story about our brother, brother-in-law, uncle, cousin, friend, colleague, and the great man that we have lost. In Damien, we lost a man that lived a life committed to the betterment of communities and to his family as a value system. We have all directly experienced Damien's commitment to ensuring we are the best version of ourselves. His intention to make choices that honour this was never in doubt. He left a positive ripple effect for all who knew him, a gift that will keep on giving. Thank you, Damien, for seeing and loving this family. Throughout your life, you honoured those before and those left behind. Damien, we love you. We'll miss you so much. Rest in peace, beautiful brother. Please give Mum and Dad a big hug for us.
Something is about to give. I can feel it coming. I think I know what it is. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to live. And when I'm flat on my back, I hope to feel like I did. And sets in. You need some protection, the thinner the skin. I want you to know Somewhere I can taste the salt of the sea. There's a kite blowing out of control on the breeze. I wonder what's gonna happen to you. You wonder what has happened to me. I'm a man. I'm not a child. A man who sees the shadow behind your eyes. Who's to say where the wind will take you? Who's to say what it is will break you? I don't know where the wind will blow. Who's to know when the time has come around? I don't wanna see you cry. I know that this is not goodbye. Did I waste it? Not so much I couldn't taste it. Life should be fragrant. Rooftop to the basement. The last of the rock stars. When hip-hop drove the big cars. In the time when new media was the big idea. That was the big idea.
Damien, we are on time. The next speakers will be Damien's daughters. Alexandra Christensen will speak about Damien as a father. Rebecca McKellar will speak to Damien as a pa, and Jessica Vinicum, who will be supported by her husband Tom, and will read a poem written by Damien. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today to celebrate my wonderful dad, Damien. For those who don't know me or haven't seen me since I was much smaller, my name is Alexandra, and I'm joined up here today with my sisters Rebecca and Jessica, and sadly our younger Georgia is unable to make it today. As a little girl, I absolutely idolised my dad. I thought he was a real celebrity. Imagine going to kinder and telling your classmates that your dad was a football player and a policeman. Two of the things kindergarteners want to be most when they grow up. I couldn't believe how every time we went to the shops, there was always someone who knew my dad and they would stop to talk about something boring, usually football. When we would go to the park, it would start with him playing with my sisters and I, then slowly more and more kids would appear and be joining us. My poor dad spent countless hours spinning me and so many other kids on the merry-go-round at Barwon Valley Park, sometimes going a bit too fast and strong, but the other kids learnt quickly that you had to hold on tight. The other kids would tell me that my dad was so much fun, and they were right. As a teenager, it's not so much fun having him as your dad, because the police know who your dad is, although it got us out of trouble a few times. My dad was so amazing that I thought he could do anything, and until I was much older than I would like to admit, I thought my dad was the star of the movie Grease, playing Danny alongside my mum, who was obviously Sandy. I asked Mum recently if she and Dad told me this lie, but no, I came up with it all on my own. I remember Grease Lightning coming on in the car and saying, "Dad, it's your song," and being a bit confused as to why Dad's singing didn't match the radio. One of the conversations we had in the final months of Dad's life was about his name, Damien Jared, and why Nana and Gramps gave him this name. He told us about how Nana had named him Damien after Father Damien, a Catholic priest who worked with the lepers in Hawaii, and St. Jared, whose feast day was his birthday, October 16th. While pregnant with Dad, Nana was given a piece of wood from Father Damien's coffin. Dad found it and showed it to us, a splinter of wood on a yellowed piece of card. We asked about how his siblings were named, wondering if they had similar stories to him. And no, they weren't all named after family members, and Nana must have been feeling very religious when she was pregnant with him. He told us how it felt like he was always at church because Nana would pull him out of school and take him all over Victoria for funerals of people he'd never even met. We asked why him and not his siblings, and he answered that he was the best behaved and would just sit there and be quiet. I'm not sure if his siblings would agree, but if it's true, it explains why it puzzled my dad so much when my sisters and I didn't know the first thing about sitting still and being quiet. All those hours in church didn't turn my dad into a very religious man, but it didn't mean he wasn't one of values. Respect, justice, fairness, family, compassion, and accountability were all highly important to my dad. And when raising his daughters, he didn't care what we did for jobs or how much money we made. His measure of success for us was if we were good people. Seeing all the amazing things my dad did during his time at Victoria Police and the sense of accomplishment it gave him, I asked if I should follow in his footsteps. This idea was very quickly shut down, and he was honest and said I would be too sensitive and cry at everything. He was right, brutal but right, but he encouraged me to go and study to work with children as an educator so my compassion, care and sensitivity would be useful. One thing he told us was when he was sick was that he knew he did a good job as a dad and was so proud that we all went into careers that see us caring for other people and making a difference in people's lives. My dad always gave 100% with everything he did, and being a dad was no different. In a conversation between Dad, Jess and I when he was hospitalised after Christmas, he revealed to us that he didn't actually know that he wanted to be a dad, but when he became one, he knew that he had to do his best. This really surprised us because he was such a natural father. He was patient, loving, caring and consistent, and my sisters put that to the test pretty much every day. We didn't make it easy for him, but he never showed us anything other than his unconditional love. Other people were intimidated by my dad, which I never understood, because to us he was a big softie. He was the person that laid in bed reading us Go-Girl books until we fell asleep and made the best scrambled eggs in the world. How could he be scary? When Dad was coaching Box Hill, Georgia and I would go along to the games, and seeing him talk very sternly, yelling, down the phone or to the players, telling them everything they were doing wrong and what they needed to be doing right. These people obviously didn't know my very special trick, that you could just start crying and arguing back and you would get your way. I remember being shocked at this side of my dad because it was something I saw very, very rarely. And on the few occasions I saw it as a teenager, I knew it was serious and I needed to smarten up fast. I still remember my dad coming to my kinder class in his full police uniform and telling us about his job. My teacher made us sit in certain spots on the floor, but I wasn't having it. I wanted to sit as close to my dad as possible, and I got in trouble for inching closer and closer. From that moment on, I got into the very bad habit of volunteering my dad for everything. My primary school footy team needed a coach. I wasn't even on the team, but my dad could do it. Learning about police work in class, my dad can come and talk. My basketball team needed a coach. Coaching is coaching. My dad can do it. This continued into adulthood when last year I found myself being a kindergarten assistant with a class of 16 footy mad boys and one very energetic girl. I asked Dad to come in and do footy training with them on a Wednesday, and the thing about my dad was if he could do it, he would always say yes. Dad and I went to Kmart and we found all the equipment that we needed, and every Wednesday until he got sick, he was there running footy training. The children in my class absolutely loved him, and I went to that little girl's birthday party recently, and her mum said she still talks about footy training with my dad, who was a real-life footballer and also a real-life policeman, proving 20 years later it's still two of the coolest jobs you can have. After Dad got diagnosed and we knew we didn't have much time left, we were sat in the Geelong Hospital courtyard watching my nieces push each other around in his wheelchair. I started crying and apologising to him, saying how sorry I was that I wasn't the daughter that he wanted. He looked at me confused and asked, "What is it that I think that he wanted?" And I said, "Someone more sporty, more outgoing, more adventurous, someone more like him." He held me and told me I was exactly the daughter that he wanted, and he wouldn't have wanted anyone other than the daughters that he had. I went away and sat with that, and the more I thought about it, the more he was right. He was meant to be our dad, and we were meant to be his daughters. We had a lot to learn from each other. And although 37, 35, 26 and 24 years with him were way too short, he did such an amazing job at teaching us everything he needed to. Leading up to Dad's passing, I was so scared about losing him because I relied on him so much, and I genuinely thought that I wouldn't know what to do without him. It has been 5.5 weeks since my dad passed away, and I'm starting to see that I'm going to be okay, and that I was so lucky to have a dad that cared as much as he did and set me up for success the way that he did. 5.5 months from diagnosis to death is way too short, but we were so lucky to have the time that we did. We got to have those beautiful conversations, the thank yous, the I love yous. As a family, we got to have that beautiful photo shoot at the Yangs that you just saw. We got to make our last time special. However, if I got my dad back for just 5 minutes, I would ask him to tell me a story while I lay in bed and close my eyes as he strokes my hair and nose until I fall asleep, just like he did when I was little. Because one day it was the last time and we didn't know it. Thank you.
Dame is a very loved pa to Harper, Aspen, Piper, Sully, and Sully's baby brother. They all brought him so much joy. He was proud of them and every little thing that they did. He loved being a pa, and his face would light up whenever he saw them. Whether it was attending countless cheer and dance concerts for the girls, joining in Grandparents' Day at school, hearing about their latest achievements, or simply listening to stories about their day, he was always interested and so very proud. He was so happy when Sully became attached to the golf set that he bought him. We're sure that Sully will make very good use of Pa's golf clubs when he grows up. Dame spoke about how much he wished he could watch his grandchildren grow up and see the wonderful people he knew they would become. His hope for them is that they will follow their dreams, to have courage, be brave, stand up for what's right, to be curious, ask questions, and to find good people. As his grandchildren grow, they will carry a piece of Pa with them always. His love will live on in their hearts, in the stories we share, the memories we treasure, and the values he hoped to pass on. In that way, Pa will never be far away. He will always be part of their lives and forever a part of who they are. My sisters and I would like to say a big thank you to our family and friends for all their love and support, and we would like to acknowledge and thank the many people who cared for Dame during his battle with cholangiocarcinoma. To his doctors and nurses at the Bowen Health Oncology and Palliative Care units, thank you for the care, compassion and support that you showed him. We would also like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the wonderful staff at Anamkara House. It's difficult to find the words to express how much your care and support meant to Dame and to our family. You shared our tears, you wrapped us in hugs and provided comfort, kindness and support when we needed it most. We will never forget the love you showed Dame or the difference you made to our family during such a difficult time. And finally, we want to thank our beautiful mum. Mum, throughout Dame's cancer journey, you have been absolutely incredible. We know how much you carried watching him battle this cruel disease. You were by his side every step of the way, through the days at hospitals, every appointment, every dose of medication, and every long night. You're the strongest woman we know. We are so proud of you and we love you so much. Dame, thank you for being such an incredible father to us and grandfather to our children. We miss you more than words can say, but we will carry you with us always.
Dame was so excited for the arrival of his second grandson and hoped more than anything that he would get the chance to meet him. While he wasn't given that time, he left behind something incredibly special, a poem for his newest grandchild. We always knew he was a man of many talents, but it wasn't until recently that we discovered that this was one of them too. And I'd love to share that poem with you now. We're two souls travelling, one about to land. We're two souls passing, the older shows his hand. Billions flicker in heavenly space, before and after two souls embrace. Old souls pass on a life well lived. New souls don't understand their earthly gift. Take what's given, either short or long. Go where needed to where we belong. Nationalism isn't what souls are sent here for. Diversity and freedom and so much more. I still have one soul, mine is yet to meet. My destiny to see him, destiny to greet. Once inside his earthly form, here a gift, a baby born. To see and touch him, to say hello, to tell him everything before my soul goes. Parents to love him, brother to beat, family to hug him, head to tiny feet. Tell him I love him as two souls touch, like all our children, so very, very much. Thank you.
If I could catch a star for you, I swear I'd steal them all tonight, to make your every wish come true, your every dream for all your life. But that's not how the story goes. The world is full of perfect plans. If there's a promise that I broke, I know one day you'll understand. When times are hard, I know you'll be strong. I'll be there in your heart, and you'll carry on like moonlight on the water and sunlight in the sky. Fathers and daughters never say goodbye. The angel I would read to sleep gave me one dream of my own. So learn to love and spread your wings, and find the world to call your home. When times are hard, I know you'll be strong. I'll be there in your heart, and you'll carry on like moonlight on the water and sunlight in the sky. Fathers and daughters never say goodbye.
Good boy.
Times are hard, I know you'll be strong. I'll be there in your heart, and you'll carry on like moonlight on the water and sunlight in the sky. Fathers and daughters never say goodbye.
Kaz will now speak, and she'll be accompanied by her friend Catherine, who I believe was a bridesmaid at Damien and Kaz's wedding. So.
To have known Dame was to have loved him. How could you not? When I first met Damien, it was on a Sunday night at Lammy's. He had just finished coaching a game at Lara and was standing talking to an umpire. I walked past and said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And from that moment on, I was completely smitten. We stood there chatting. I can't even remember about what, but I do remember how I felt. That night, 33 years ago, was the beginning of a beautiful life together. I was introduced very quickly to the world of football. Damien would often come home after coaching and launch into detailed conversation about the game. I'd sit there smiling and nodding and pretending I knew exactly what he was talking about. One day I rang Catherine and said, "Oh my God, please help me. He keeps on talking about a shepherd. What is he talking about?" I certainly had a lot to learn. I remember the long drives to Camperdown with nothing to do but talk and learn more about each other. Those hours together built the foundation of a relationship that would last a lifetime. And then there was the day Damien decided to put himself through a fitness test. He hopped out of the car and started running alongside it, having absolutely no idea what was going on. I just kept on driving. Looking back now, it still makes me laugh. It wasn't only me who fell in love with Damien. When we met, I had two young daughters, Rebecca and Jessica, and they quickly came to see Damien as a father figure. He embraced that role with his heart. Damien proposed to me on the night of Patrick's 21st, and I'm fairly sure he didn't want to steal his thunder. Sorry, Paddy. We were married in 1997 and were blessed to welcome two more beautiful daughters into our family, Alexandra and Georgia. From the very beginning, Damien treated all our four girls like princesses. He adored being their dad and was immensely proud of each and every one of them. Our story had many chapters. Some were wonderful, some were challenging, but through it all we had each other. Damien was not only my husband, but he was my best friend, my protector, my greatest supporter and my soulmate. For 33 years we built a life together filled with love, laughter, family, friendship and memories that I will carry with me forever. On November the 23rd, all of our lives changed forever. From that day on, the love and support shown not only to Damien, but to all of us as his family is something I will never forget. Friends dropped off meals and groceries, appeared on our doorstep when we needed them the most, spent hours on the phone with us and offered help in countless ways as we tried to navigate this cruel and relentless disease. One we would soon come to understand that there was not a fighting chance. There are so many people I would like to thank. To Bowen Health, the Andrew Love Cancer Centre and the palliative care team. Thank you for the care, compassion and support you gave Damien and our family. And a special thank you to Keith Fagg, who spent many hours sitting with Damien listening as he shared the stories of his life. Through the generosity of the Bowen Health Palliative Care Unit, those memories have been turned into a book that our family will treasure forever. Keith is an extraordinary volunteer who gives so generously of his time to support families like ours during the most difficult of circumstances. To the nurses, doctors and healthcare staff who cared for Damien throughout his illness, thank you. In the final weeks before his passing, Damien was admitted to the Anamkara Palliative Care Unit. From the cleaners and meal attendants to the doctors and the incredible nursing staff, every person treated Damien with kindness, dignity and respect. The care and love you showed him in his final weeks brought comfort to not only Damien but all of us. To nurses Sally and Robin, I don't even know where to begin. You were there for us when we needed you the most. You held us in your arms on our darkest day and cried alongside us. What you showed us was compassion, kindness, and humanity beyond words. We will never forget it. And to Dr. Deb and Jill, thank you for guiding us through one of the most difficult journeys a family can face. Your care, honesty, and unwavering support meant more to us than you will ever know. Most of you may not be aware of this, but Damien chose to keep it private at the time. But Damien made the decision to access Victoria's voluntary assisted dying program. Once Damien learned that there was no cure and no treatment for what he called the hideous beast growing inside me, he knew one thing for certain: he did not want to suffer, and nor should he have had to. With the support of Dr. Deb and Jill, we navigated the many steps required for approval, demonstrating that his illness was incurable, untreatable, and his life expectancy was limited. When Damien first spoke to me about this decision, I didn't have to think twice. I fully supported him, as did the rest of the family. While Damien had no control over this disease that had taken hold of his body, he did have control over one thing: deciding when his suffering would end. That decision was made with courage, dignity, and peace. It was not about giving up. It was about ensuring that the disease did not take away that final choice that remained his to make. For Damien, voluntary assisted dying allowed him to face the end of his life in his own terms, surrounded by the people he loved the most. For that, we will be always grateful. I've been asked several times over the past few weeks if we have already held a private ceremony for Damien, and the answer is no. Today is the day. In true Damien fashion, even in death, he chose to help others. Damien made the generous decision to donate his body to the University of Sydney so that future doctors can learn, develop their skills, and ultimately help other families facing illness and loss. It was a decision that reflected the kind of person Damien was: thoughtful, practical, and always willing to give something of himself to help others. Even after his passing, his legacy continues through the knowledge and care that future generations of doctors will gain because of his gift. When Damien returns to us, we will honour his wishes and scatter his ashes at the You Yangs, a place that meant so much to him. So if you're ever at the You Yangs, driving past them, or even catching the train and seeing them from a distance, take a moment to think of Damien. Remember that great smile, his kindness, his stories, his sense of humour, and the way he made people feel. For our family, the You Yangs forever will be a place where we will feel close to him, a place we can remember, reflect, and carry him with us. And in those moments, perhaps you will too. On Tuesday the 28th of April, each of Damien's daughters and sons-in-laws had the opportunity to share their final conversations with their dad. I did too. When nothing was left unsaid, I climbed into bed beside him on the left-hand side where I had always slept. Our girls and son-in-laws gathered around us. As I lay next to Damien with my head resting on his chest, holding him tightly and listening to the steady beat of that beautiful heart, he closed his eyes, drifted peacefully to sleep. In fact, he even began snoring, which made us smile. A few moments later, his beautiful heart stopped beating and he was no longer in pain. He left this world surrounded by love with the people who meant the most to him by his side. For that, we will always be grateful. Even in his final weeks of life, Damien would still open the door for me, ever the gentleman right up to the end. Damien wore many hats throughout his life: footballer, coach, policeman, golfer, mentor, leader, husband, father and friend, and I had the privilege of watching him excel in every one of those roles for 33 years. I watched him build a remarkable career with the Victorian Police, progressing through the ranks with dedication and integrity. I watched him devote countless hours to coaching football, shaping young players and building lifelong friendships. And more recently, I watched him take on the role of president of his golf club, a position that unfortunately was cut short by his cancer diagnosis. I wasn't only in love with Damien, I was in awe of him. The kindness he showed others, the support he gave so freely, his capacity for forgiveness and his unwavering loyalty made me proud every single day. He had a way of making people feel valued, heard and cared for. Although Damien knew many people and was respected by so many, nothing made him happier than just being at home with his family. Some of my favourite memories are the simplest ones. I would be in the kitchen preparing dinner while Dame sat nearby telling me about his day and asking about mine. There was nothing extraordinary about those moments, yet it meant everything. It was the little things that made us happy, simply just being together. How lucky was I to have called him my husband. Damien, thank you for a life we built together. Thank you for your love, your laughter, your strength and your unwavering devotion to our family. I love you. I always will until we meet again. Thank you.
And forsaking all others, give only unto her for as long as you both shall live. Thank you. Karen, will you take Damien as your husband? Will you love him, respect him, and forsaking all others, give only unto him so as long as you both shall live?
What have we got now? I would like to dedicate this song to my beautiful wife, for Ali. You say you want a diamond and a ring of gold. You say you want a story to remain untold. All the promises we made, from the cradle to the grave, when all I want is you. You say you give me a highway with no one on it. You treasure just to look upon it. All the riches in the night. You say you give me eyes in the moon of blindness, a river in time of dryness, a harbor in the tempest. All the promises we made, from the cradle to the grave, when all I want is you. Say you want a diamond on a ring of gold, our story to remain untold, our love not to grow cold. All the promises we make, from the cradle to the grave. All I want is you.
On behalf of Kaz and the family, we'd just like to thank everyone for being here today, and also people that have watched the celebration by live streaming. The celebration today of Damien's life is not finished yet. It will continue, as Marty said before, over at the St Mary Club rooms. If you don't know where they are, just walk down the front here, across the car park, the roadway, and it's next to the Oval. So you'll see people, just follow the crowd if you're going to be there. So thanks everyone again, and of course, the last speaker for today will be Damien himself. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. First of all, thank you for being present at my end-of-life celebration. I sincerely appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate everybody's kind words and messages along my cancer journey. Thank you for everybody who spoke today. I would love to have heard what you had to say, but I'm sure you all did a great job. My cancer journey started on the 23rd of November last year, and I went into hospital with a sore stomach. And unfortunately got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I stayed in hospital to put a stent in and to start the process of getting better, but unfortunately chemotherapy, immunotherapy and other things that I tried really couldn't assist me, and I got worse and ended up back in hospital with sepsis, and with consultation with doctors we came to the conclusion that there was no amount of treatment that would be able to help me. So in the past 5 months I've managed to speak to a lot of people, had a lot of love come my way, and to be honest I've been overwhelmed with the support that's been given. I'd like to thank a lot of people. I'd like to thank in particularly, my family, siblings, and my children, and of course my beautiful wife Kazza. Without you guys being around me, I'm sure I wouldn't have lasted the 5 months. It's been an honour and a privilege just to be cared for by the beautiful people that have supported me and been around me. Also, my journey started with a sore stomach, but I was a little bit fatigued before that, and probably waved it off a little bit because I'd had a full blood test in August and I came back fully okay. And I'd like to encourage everybody to go and see a doctor, because if you're not feeling well, if you're not simply, even if it's just fatigue or a bit of tiredness or changing markers on your body or whatever else it is, please go and see a doctor as soon as you can and do the blood tests, because you might be able to pick a cancer up at stage 1 and stage 2 and have a chance to beat it. Unfortunately, mine was stage 4 and I had no chance. For me, my life has been a wonderful life. I have no regrets in my life. I've lived everything to the fullest. I've tried my hardest at everything I could, whether it's probably not schoolwork, but whether it's policing, football, athletics, family. I've given it my all, and I'm very proud of that, and the achievements that I've been able to succeed in my life. Also come back to a lot of people in the room here today who have supported me and believed in me and given me opportunities. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to leave this earth. I'm not scared of leaving this earth, but I really don't want to leave and leave behind the people who I love the most and things that are undone or not said. I think I've been able to have those private conversations where I've been able to say what I need to say to the people who are in my closest network and family. And so there's nothing more I can say, but thank you all.